Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of experienced, successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior professional from the world of academia, from Paris, France, Mr. Tamym Abdessemed. Tamym, welcome to the show.
Hello, very pleased to be with you
Thank,
today.
thank you. Uh, Professor Abdessemed is the Dean of the Excelia Business School. He's the Director General of Excelia in France. He's an author of different articles in journals and business cases on his areas of interest, which are co-optation in the presence of network externalities, standards, competition, strategic alliance in the banking industry, change management, and management education. And he has taught at various universities around the world. Today, we're going to talk to Professor Abdessemed about Dean Excelia Business School. So, my first question to you, Tamym, is tell me about your own journey in brief.
Okay, thank you. With pleasure. I'm, as you said, currently the Dean of Excelia Business School. I'm a professor of corporate strategy originally, and I got my PhD and initial graduation from HEC Paris in France.
Mhm.
I had different positions as dean or associate dean in different French institutions,
Mhm.
contributing to the regular progression of the French business schools and its strong internationalization over the last 30 years, I would
Mhm.
say. I had many engagement at the level also of the French the Conférence des Grandes Écoles, which is gathering the majority of French engineering, but also business schools.
Mhm.
And I'm also very engaged internationally to diffuse quality improvement processes through my participation to more than, I would say, 25 international peer review visits all over the world.
Mhm.
And finally, I define myself as an academic entrepreneur engaged for students, for companies,
Mhm.
and the community of schools.
Well said, well said. And before I ask you any other question, for my viewers and listeners, tell me about the Excelia Business School. When was it formed, and what are some of the specializations that you focus on?
Yeah, Excelia Business School is one of the French business school, member of this Conférence des Grandes Écoles, and also recognized as a higher education institution of, I would say, general interest, recognized as such by the French Ministry of Education.
Mhm.
Even though it's not a public institution, it is a private institution recognized as contributing to the general interest. The school is a triple accredited schools, AACSB, EQUIS, and also AMBA.
Mhm.
And the originality of the school, which offers a portfolio of programs from Bachelor in Business, Bachelor of BBA, especially an international BBA, which is a 5-year program,
Mhm.
a master's degree, which is our program Grande École, that is to say the main French standard, and
Mhm.
also a portfolio of masters, of specialized masters.
Mhm.
And this originality of the school, which is established as part of Excelia, which
Mhm.
is an institution with 3 schools: the business school, the communication school, and
Mhm.
also the tourism school, tourism and hospitality school.
Mhm.
And Excelia is located in 4 campuses in France, in the region of La Rochelle, in the
Mhm.
region of Tours, of Orléans, and more recently on the Paris campus Cachan, which is the latest one. The main
Mhm.
originality of the school, its engagement in the topic of social and ecological transition from
Mhm.
the beginning,
Mhm.
with really the vision of being one of the leading school in producing, I would say, responsible people with a global vision of performance. The other also characteristic of the school
Mhm.
is to be dedicated to the issue of digital transformation
Mhm.
as a topic of education, but
Mhm.
also as a pedagogy, since we have invested a lot in different new immersive learning environments,
Mhm.
because we consider that people today definitely learn differently from the previous generation. This is,
Mhm.
in a way, the main characteristic of Excelia
Very well
Business School.
said. Very well said. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of young people who will be listening to our conversation. And I'm sure you know that Indian students are going all over the world for their MBAs. But moving on, Tamim, what are some of the major challenges that business schools will need to address in the coming years?
Yes, this is a key question. From my point of view, I would say the most important challenges are the following. First of all, the digital transformation, both of students' behaviors as well as the digital transformation of the organizations as a real vector of complexity, the introduction of artificial intelligence, the risks such as those coming from the cyber security challenges, the new competencies that are necessary to conduct business in our contemporary world. So doing business will change, and learning business will continue to change very, very rapidly. This is the first challenge. The second is, I would say, the effective now contribution of business schools to the ecological and social transformation. Things are going really faster and faster, and managing in a responsible and sustainable way remains a huge challenge for which I consider our schools will be, in fact, accountable in the future. So this is still a complex challenge. And finally, I would say that the new world we are facing from a geopolitical point of view will generate really a need for increased cooperation, but at the same time, substantive and permanent instability, because we will witness really many unexpected turnarounds and swings, crises, war, and stability. So the world is no more the same. So in this context, the training we give and the experience we expose students to have to be redesigned permanently in initial education, as well as lifelong education, where we will have to renew and reinforce our initiative. This is the reason why research and proximity with the corporate world are really both more and more necessary in the future.
Great response. And what is your vision, Tamim, for the future of higher education on an international scale?
Yeah, this is also an important question. Higher education will continue, to my point of view, to grow because the needs are important all over the world. And the quality of education must continue to expand in the future. This is the reason why it is really important to have those international accreditations, so that beyond, I would say, national and cultural specificities, people can share common referential and shared standard. This is the reason why I told you at the beginning that I am very engaged in those processes, because these are clearly elements of compatibility between institutions all over the world. The second point is that international cooperation is still a source of development for institutions and students as well. It is well developed in terms of program, but also I think that it would need to be more developed in the areas of research and corporate connection, and there is room for improvement in that matter. And last, I would say that international mobility will probably have to evolve given the ecological challenges. That is to say, we will have to be more and more, I would say, planet respectful and more relevant in the kind of international cooperation we will promote. That is at least the criteria that I have in mind why I conduct my business school.
Right. Well said. Well said. And what are some of the current issues, whether they be new or more structural, that a dean must face today? And how can some of these issues be addressed?
Yeah, from my perspective, I would say that the most important challenge is for a dean today, I would say, the conciliation of the long-term and the short-term perspectives. You have at the same time to provide a high-quality education now for existing students and constantly imagine the future and engage, I would say, critical initiatives in that stance. So, so this is the first, maybe one of the most important challenge. The second for me is also to train. That is to say, we need people having, I would say, operational competencies, but also you have to develop inspiration, and you have also to contribute to the development of the personality of the leaders. So education seems to be simple, but it is complex, and it encompasses many dimensions. And the last, I would say, is still to maintain as a business school, the appropriate balance between academic and practical orientations. And this is also a challenge. And the last one is maybe to train for good. That is to say, training people as future managers, that's true, but also as future citizens of the world at the same time.
Well said. And Tamim, how do you draw inspiration to shape the future of your institution, Excelia, and in higher education more broadly?
Yes. In fact, my reply will be in two steps. First, I consider that we are so lucky as professors and deans of schools to have an activity of profound purpose, educating people. I think that we change the world through education. We have to say this again and again. And this is why I would say that my inspiration comes first from my deep convictions as contributing to general destinies and the destiny of generations. So this is the first thing. And then, so this is my profound and generic source of inspiration. Then my inspiration comes also from three factors. Young people. Young people. I consider that we are here to design the education for the upcoming generation. This is the reason why, for instance, at the level of Excelia Business School, we have last year decided to establish a student senate. The student senate is a vehicle for discussing with students on our vision of education for the future. You can't do education, for the interests of people without people. Right. You have to, share your vision and enrich your vision thanks to the exchange with young people. The second thing is my inspiration also comes from companies and institutional actors. This is the reason why at the level of Excelia, we have, for instance, set up a new committee in our governance, associating, of course, the administrative bodies of the school, but also territories, external companies, also specific association contributing to the common good. So this is the second source of inspiration. And finally, international, I would say, ideas generation. This is why I told you I like our peer review engagement and international cooperation, because it's a source of for increased quality and initiatives. And I had the opportunity, last week to be in Tokyo for a peer review visit. 2 weeks ago, it was in Argentina. And in any situation, you learn a lot and you discover how to connect in a better way the different components of our activity, that is to say academic, institutional, but also pedagogical and in link with the corporate world. So these are the main source of inspiration.
Yeah. And what role can leading institutions like yours play to promote entrepreneurship? Because this is the world of startups and a lot of young people want to become entrepreneurs. So what role can Excelia play and how would it do that?
Yeah. We have already many initiatives, but I think that for the future, what I see is the following, and this is the route in which we are engaged. I would say first, developing academic hybridization. That is to say, working with people from social science, working with people from the engineering side, working also with people from the natural sciences. First, that is to say, trying to set up bridges that could inspire students in terms of new initiative. The second thing is promoting and nurturing diversity in gender and also in talents. That is to say, guaranteeing that our students from all the different programs are regularly exposed to students having different backgrounds. And of course, it's difficult because at the same time, you have to select students aligned with the purpose of your institution and of quality, but at the same time, you have to enlarge their perspective. And finally, I would say promote inspiration, that is to say, making possibility for people to meet apart from their courses from people all over the world from different sectors. And finally, expose business to business and societal needs simultaneously, so that people can realize that, of course, they have to launch new businesses and at the same time incorporate in their vision a broad vision of what performance is. And I think that if you expose people to ideas, societal programs, and diversity of talents, then you will encourage creativity and cooperative skills to generate, I would say, adapted products and services, thanks to solutions that mix and aggregate different competencies.
Well said. And my next question is relating to the pandemic. How did the pandemic impact business management students, and how has the post-pandemic situation come back to normal for a lot of students?
Yeah. From my perspective, what was really a real change is that students, because of the COVID crisis, and I think it was all over the world and our community, we realized that major crises are still possible and can be massive.
Right.
So the idea of I have the freedom to move, I have the capacity to study, I have the capacity to meet people when I want, where I want. These things were not possible during that period. So we realized that crises are still possible. And especially here, in Europe, we believe that this new area of peace, of stability, of total freedom was forever, but not. It's not forever, and crises are still possible. So it's a really sweeping change, I think, in the mindset of people. So, and the consequences is that it has reduced, I would say, the strong desire and the inclination for mobility, even, local mobility. Students believe that everything is possible online, and including remote work, remote studying. So it has changed, I think, the vision we have regarding mobility, but and day-to-day mobility and international mobility for studying, because we believe that the new world is now at place. But now I think I would say 5 years after, things are changing again, and what I am seeing is a real willingness to go and study abroad again. Probably differently, with more responsibility, with this idea that crises are still possible, but the desire is still back, I think.
Well said. So, Tamym, I have time for 2 more questions.
Yes.
My next question is, what are your thoughts on the standardization and globalization of higher business education?
Yeah, I worked on the topic for a long time, and I think that really the effect, my work showed that the effect of internationalization, because of the competition between also institutions and the globalization of businesses themselves, my work have showed that because of this, we had a change in the standardization and the way we are educating people to business. Previously, we believed that we had only one universal standard, which is the MBA standard, and with the Anglo-Saxon vision. But because of this, we see that today the pre-experienced standard of doing education in business is today one of the major standard of business education. And it is very important to say that it means that at the international level, we recognize a diversity of standard. And the European schools, for instance, and specifically French business school, is very well positioned on this way of educating, because in this standard, we mix precisely academic vision and practical orientation from the beginning of the education. And the second thing is that the globalization and the standardization is maybe very important from the point of view of accreditation. That is to say, there is now a kind of consensus of the sources of quality all over the world beyond the national specificity. So the standardization is in place, but with capacity of the different institutions to value their specific context and their way of educating at the same time.
Well said. And my last question to you, Tamym, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation.
Yes.
For a young student looking to get admission into Excelia, what would you say are the reasons he or she or they should look at to select Excelia? And what is the process that they should follow to get admission?
Okay, yes. Excelia is a really sharing the quality framework because of its triple accreditation, its recognition as a national non-profit higher education institution, and also to the fact that our degrees are nationally recognized and confer the best level of education.
Right.
So we share this common body in terms of quality. But at the same time, our way of educating people is a little bit different, since from the beginning we pay attention to the, I would say, global vision of what performance is, training good managers, but training at the same time engage citizens and trying to have their contribution to society locally and internationally. This is the first level of difference. And the second one is also that we offer large possibilities in terms of experience because of our 4 campuses, in which you can be in the capital, you can be in a territory which is a region of patrimony, and at the same time you can be in La Rochelle on the western part of the school, close to the coast. And last, we promote an environment of innovation, since the format of learning are really very wide. For instance, I can tell you that this year we have just announced that we launched Excelia Prime. Excelia Prime is a new initiative that Excelia prepared this year, which is the creation of kind of Netflix of education, what we call edutainment, that is, trying to raise the opportunity of having learning through edutainment, which is to say at the same time taking benefit of stories of management, but capitalizing on this to increase the level of learning students can get.
Well said. And on that note, Tamym, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking to me about your journey. Thank you for speaking to me at such length about Excelia and management education, not just in your own institution, but I love your perspectives about business education, about higher education in institutions across the world. Thank you also for sharing with us some of your thoughts on what students should look for in Excelia, and more specifically for students from India, what can they look for when they are trying to decide which country to go and study in. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the students of your region who are full of talent, in fact. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.